Every website can be split up into two parts, the frontend and the backend. The frontend is all the visual stuff you can see on the web page, the images, text, the button. And the backend is what saves and manages your data, for example, your Instagram account info. In this video, I am going to explain all the tools and technologies that are used in the frontend of the web application. And in another video, we'll talk about the backend. So let's get started. The first technology we're going to look at is HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it's used to add content to our web page. For example, I can open a blank page in my web browser, and in code editor I can write this bit of HTML code to add a text to our web page. I can also add other types of content like buttons and images. And if I write more HTML, I will add more content to my page. But you will notice that our page looks bad. That's why we need CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and it's used to style our web page. So it's used to make our page look nice by letting us set fonts, colors, sizes, things like that. So if I add some CSS, our page will look much better, but this is not them. Let's say that I want to filter these videos and only show newest ones, so I click this button. But you will notice that nothing happens, and this is where JavaScript comes in. HTML and CSS only display content on our page, but JavaScript is what makes our page interactive. So, for example, when we click something and type something, a bit of JavaScript code will update the page based on what we did. The most important feature of JavaScript is something called the Document Object Model, or the DOM. The DOM allows JavaScript to change the web page. For example, this JavaScript code uses the DOM to change the image when we click the button. And this is how JavaScript makes pages interactive. However, using the DOM directly like this is really repetitive and hard to manage, and that's why we used JavaScript frameworks. JavaScript frameworks are like tools for building web applications fast and easier by using pre-built code. As a result, our code becomes cleaner and more organized, so we never use the DOM directly anymore. The most popular ones are React, Angular, and Vue. Now let's take a step back and look at JavaScript again. JavaScript as a language is missing a lot of features that other programming languages have. One of these features is being able to split up our code into different files and to organize our code. And now you can say, wait a minute, if we write a code in code editor, we can have numerous of JS files and our web page will work properly. But the point is, each file requires a separate HTTP request, in other words, link to the server, which can slow down the page load time. So, if we make site, we don't want this to happen, because we will lose our potential users. To solve this, we have to use something called a bundler. The most popular one you have probably heard of is called Webpack. Webpack lets us split up our JavaScript code into many different files. And once we are ready to put it on our website, Webpack will combine all of these files or bundle all of these files into one JavaScript file that we can put on our website. Another tool that we use is called a transpiler. The most popular ones are TypeScript and CoffeeScript. So, what is that? As we discussed earlier, JavaScript is not the most convenient programming language. So, programmers have to come up with these ones to make their lives easier. Transpilers allow developers to write more concise and understandable code. And when the code is written, a transpiler converts it into normal JavaScript because browsers like Google Chrome can only understand normal JavaScript. So, those are the major technologies in the JavaScript world. Now let's return to CSS. CSS as a language has the same problems as JavaScript. We can't organize our code in different files without losing page loading speed. And CSS is missing a lot of useful features, so we use the CSS preprocessors. It's basically the combination of a bundler and a transpiler. The most popular CSS preprocessor you probably heard of is called Sass. Sass lets us organize our CSS into different files, and it lets us write more organized and efficient CSS. And then it will bundle all of those files together into one file. And it will transform the enhanced CSS back into normal CSS. So you can think of it as sort of like a bundler and a transpiler combined. Now, once we had CSS preprocessors, developers start to create CSS frameworks. The most popular ones are Bootstrap and Tailwind. CSS frameworks consist of pre-written CSS code created by someone else. They offer solutions to common problems, allowing us to save time by using them and improve the quality of development. The last thing we are going to look at is how does the frontend communicate with the backend. JavaScript has a feature for this too, called XML HTTP request. It lets us send requests to server. On the other side, backend responds with the requested information or performs the requested action for this message sent to a specific URL. For example, if we order the pizza, frontend sends a message to the restaurant server, then server adds it to a list of orders and send a confirmation back to you. That's how they get our order. We are going to talk more about this process in our backend video. Over the years, we have improved on XML HTTP request, and these days we use tools like Axios or Fetch to send messages to the backend. Alright, so these are all the technologies we need to build a frontend. You may notice that it's really just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The other technologies make CSS and JavaScript easier to work with. Let me know in the comments how many of these technologies you already knew and if anything was new to you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos.